Super Tuesday is over. Nikki Haley has dropped out. And if it wasn't already, it is now abundantly clear that Donald Trump will be the nominee for the Republican Party in the 2024 presidential election. And so the lefties are going crazy, as if they didn't know this was going to happen. And we're going to cover that and react today on Speechless. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Speechless. I am your host, Kev Phares, 23-year-old conservative activist and radio host of Speechless with Kev Phares. Don't forget to not miss a minute of any of it, to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends. And if you want to support the show in any other way, there are plenty of ways listed in the comments, and I'd really appreciate it. But as I mentioned in the intro, many lefties are going crazy because Donald Trump is going to be the Republican presidential nominee. You'll find posts on X, formerly known as Twitter, and pretty much every other social media source in which they talk about how this accused sexual predator and 91 indictments and all this debt and fraud businessman, all the woke narrative lies, racist, sexist, homophobe, white nationalist, Christian nationalist, all the lies are being spewed in social media. And I got to tell you, it's probably one of the most annoying things. But at the same time, it's quite hilarious when you find some post their idiocy in the form of a video on things like TikTok. And so, according to a tweet from the account @EndWokeness on Twitter, one of these lefty influencers, a woke influencer, lists all of the, quote, terrifying things that Trump will do if he wins, and accidentally made him the most epic campaign ad ever. So we're going to react to this, talk about it a little bit, and see what is considered to be the, quote, most epic campaign ad ever. Here's this individual with the weird clear glasses. I say individual because it is not absolutely clear to me whether or not this is a male or a female. What is clear is that they are pretty unattractive. So let's look at this.
And here are the first 15 promises he has made if he is reelected. You may have heard of Project 2025, but this is from Agenda 47, and you can read all of these on his website. First, he promises that he will carry out the largest domestic deportation operation in history. He will also ask for the death sentence for anyone convicted of human trafficking.
What's wrong with that? I would love to hear what's wrong with that. Somebody is partaking in modern day slavery. Look, I have objections to the death penalty, but I'd rather have a harsher penalty than we currently have, which is catch and release from our police from illegal immigrants. So what's wrong with that? Let's keep watching.
He will close the Department of Education and return all education standards to the states to decide. He will put prayer back into school, and he will criminalize any race-based advantage programs.
Okay, so we have a rise in people praying and getting closer with God. We allow states to have the right to control their education system, which may or may not be bad, but it's better than the federal government regulating it. And we also get rid of institutionalized racism, of affirmative action. Once again, I'm failing to see anything wrong. Let's keep watching.
He will end the Affordable Care Act.
Cool. Man, I'm sold already. Like this said, this is a great campaign ad.
He will ban gender-affirming care for adults and children, and he will ban any federal dollars from going towards gender-affirming care.
Okay, wait, I'm going to let them finish. Finish. He, she, it, her, whatever. But I'm interested in this.
Which means anyone with government-provided health care will no longer be able to access gender-affirming care except for Viagra and Cialis. Those will still be available.
Well, at least we know Joe will still be able to get it up even when he's no longer president. But what I do want to say, when it comes to the gender-affirming care stuff, I have a point. I've been pondering this a little bit. So you'll oftentimes hear that the left claims that all of these people are killing themselves, committing suicide, because they're not getting gender-affirming care, But then, in the same breath, they'll also make the argument that people that are transgender have existed since the beginning of time, but they've always just been closeted by societal norms. Now, here's the thing. Both of those things are false. But if we were to accept them both as true, it would lead to a logical track of questioning in which you would ask, if all these people always existed, but they were always closeted, why was there not this mass wave of suicide that we're now seeing now? Because of people that are not receiving gender affirming care. Because the assumption is that they were not receiving gender affirming care when they were when they were closeted back over the last hundreds and thousands of years that apparently they've existed. But now they have more access to gender affirming care at this current moment than they ever had in the history of humanity. And now suicide rates are spiking. Chew on that. Chew on that, liberals. Let's see what else this he, she, it, they has to say.
He will propose a constitutional amendment that gives a term limit to Congress. He will deploy the Department of Justice to investigate the Biden crime family and any of his adversaries or political rivals. He will immediately pardon all of the January 6thers, and he will create a task force to investigate anyone who arrested, charged, or imprisoned a January 6er.
Okay, so here's what I'm hearing. Congressional term limits, so we don't have people that are representing us that don't actually represent us. We have Joe Biden rightfully looked into for a lot of sketchy behavior. He didn't say he was going to prosecute Joe Biden. He said there'd be an accurate investigation. Why would you not want that of a politician if they are allegedly being corrupt? And then along with that, he's also going to pardon people who have been used as political weapons and garnered sentences and treatment much worse than the crime committed. I don't see anything wrong with it. What is wrong? What is wrong so far?
He will increase the penalties for underage criminal offenders, strengthen immunity for police officers, and deploy the National Guard to patrol woke cities. On day one, he will reassess our participation in NATO and says that every European country needs to pay the United States for protection. He will.
Yeah. If you are benefiting off of our protection and we're contributing the most to NATO by far, not even in comparison with the GDP and wealth of other nations, it exceeds that much further. Why shouldn't they have to pay their fair share? All these lefties always want to talk about how the millionaires and billionaires need to pay their fair share. But why aren't we expecting that of other nations? But I digress. Let's keep listening.
Will also restore the wonderful travel ban for Muslims coming to America. He will build freedom cities. This is 10 new cities built on federal land. He will award them to areas with the best development proposals, and he will prioritize moving young families to these freedom cities.
Well, when the cost of living in an urban or suburban area is out the wazoo because of the inflation caused by the current administration, maybe it wouldn't be such a bad idea to look at the opportunities that we could have to encourage young people to buy a house, start a family, get a job. When all of these things that contribute to the success of America are being neglected, in part, not only because of societal hatred for traditionalism, but also because the cost of it has become intentionally so high. Because lefties would much rather you be dependent on the government and on them than self-sufficient and enabled to make something for yourself.
He will kill all e-vehicles and e-vehicle legislation, seeking to replace that with the development of a flying car. He believes that we could create a car that vertically takes off.
Okay, well, when he wanted to start Space Force, everybody made fun of him for that. And now it's actually a working part of our military that seeks to... And we also see a lot of news and talk about the potential of aliens out there. Maybe it's not such a bad idea. You make fun of anybody who has ever... When Thomas Edison said that he was going to create the light bulb or like came up with the idea, people thought he was crazy. A lot of times people that have innovative ideas are called crazy. Maybe it's not as dumb as you think, stupid lefty.
He will remove all of the limits on American natural gas exports and drill, baby, drill for oil domestically. He will impose a tariff of up to 60% on Chinese imports.
Good.
He will extend the 2017 tax cuts and drop the corporate tax rate from 21% to 15%.
So nobody's paying as much to the government. We're not going to be dependent on an adversary such as China. And we're going to have gas prices that are reasonable again, if not even better. Drill, baby, drill. I love it.
He will push Congress to pass legislation that would give every American the right to concealed carry anywhere at any time.
So expanding the Second Amendment.
He will revoke any gun restrictions or legislation that seeks to inhibit people's ability to own guns that's been passed in the last several years.
So protecting the Second Amendment.
He will demand that Europe pay back all the money we gave Ukraine, and then he will use all of that money to recruit for the American military.
Instead of strengthening other nations, we strengthen our own.
And he will take billions and billions of dollars from private university endowments by taxing, fining, and suing the universities. He specifically names Harvard in this one. And then he will use that money to create the American Academy. It is a free online college that will be free of wokeness that he will force employers to recognize as a bachelor's degree equivalent. So that's Agenda 47. And here,
Yeah. Okay, so lefties want to bitch and moan that they don't have free college, and then Trump literally comes up and says, look, Harvard's not really giving you a good education. Their own president plagiarizes. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to not pay all these private universities that are obviously stealing your money and charging you way more than they need to for your education. We're going to actually establish an American free college that isn't going to fill you with a bunch of mumbo jumbo and is going to allow you to get a free education. How is that? The only reason a lot of these things are actually not very conservative ideas. I have skepticism about the government providing college for people. I have skepticism about the government building their own cities because under the wrong hands, they could go poorly. However, what he's offering is actually a lot of things that the liberals are asking for. He's just planning on doing it in a way that isn't exactly how they would do it. And also where it's going to be Trump. And that's the thing, is it's not about the ideas. It's not about the policy. It's not about the outcome, which I have no doubt would be relatively positive, at least under his presidency. No, what it is, it's about the man and the brainwashing the American media has done to make you feel, and make many feel, as if supporting anything that is associated with them also in some way supports the lie that he's a racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, bigot. When in reality, that's all crap. And everything that this lefty influencer just said is true. And it's good. Which is why I say, don't necessarily vote for who I tell you to vote for, but I recommend, if you like even a few things that lefty influencer brought up, vote Trump 2024. God bless you. God bless America. And until next time, you've been watching Speechless.